there. My name is Pat Woods. I'm the Director of Religious Education at Abraham Lincoln Unitarian Universalist Church in Springfield. And I'm here today with the Story for All Ages. And this is the Earth Day edition. Now you may notice I have some props. I have a lovely little knife. I have an apple. I have a little cutting board. And yes, you're actually in my kitchen/living room. So this is kind of a neat opportunity for us to get to know one another. Today, I want to tell you a story about the Earth. And this is a story that I learned when I was in junior high school. I believe it was Roger Zuloff, my art teacher, who was also the Eco Club sponsor, who did this story originally. So for those of you who don't know this story, this represents the Earth. It's kind of round. It's sort of the same shape. And the interesting thing is we can start divvying it up a little bit. So if I take my knife and I cut this in half, and then I cut the apple in half again, we have kind of an interesting representation. Can anybody tell me how much of the Earth is covered by water? Is it 1/4? Nope. Is it 2/4? Nope. Is it 3/4? Absolutely right. So 3/4 of the Earth is covered up by water. Now, we're talking about Earth Day, and so we're talking about land, and we're going to be talking about farming and all that good stuff. So we can put 3/4 of the Earth aside because we're not going to be farming that, or at least not in any time soon. So this represents the land that makes up the Earth. Now, interestingly, about half of the land that makes up the Earth is just land that isn't accessible to us. It could be mountains, or it could be in the Arctic Circle. And so this is land that we really wouldn't be able to use if we wanted to farm it. So we'll have to set this aside too. So then pretty good chunk of land left over, right? No, there's really not. Because this land has to be divided into 4 chunks as well. And we have to put some of this aside. This is the land where the temperature is simply too cold or too hot to grow things well at all. This is the land where we've already built things, and so it's not possible to reach the land. So that gets set aside. And this is the land that is either too damaged or too dry or too wet for us to be able to plant anything there. So that gets set aside as well. Well, look at this. There's really not much left, is there? It's this tiny little chunk, 1/32 of what we started with the apple. And even more interesting, the farmers, and every farmer grows enough food for about 120 people on Earth. The farmers are actually growing everything on this tiny little sliver right here, because this represents the about 5 feet of topsoil upon which farmers can actually grow things. Now, why am I showing you this? Well, for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's finally, I think, going to be really spring. I hope the last snow is over. I hope that last freeze was really our last freeze, because I don't know about you, but I am itching to get outside and plant some things. I like growing tomatoes and zucchinis and beans and carrots and okra and all kinds of things. Now, not everybody's lucky enough to live on a small farm like I do and have the space to be able to grow those kinds of things. But you know what? Even if you're not, you might want to do something like get a container and put that dirt in that container and plant something in that. I love growing basil and thyme and parsley, all kinds of spices in containers on my front deck. So that's something you might think about as well. But I think the important thing for us to think about is just how tiny this little slip of Earth is that allows us to grow everything that humanity needs. So my message for this week, in addition to taking care of each other, let's make sure we take care of the Earth. It's the only one we've got.